Ever wondered how to make the perfect lasagna at home? Imagine the layers of savory meat, creamy cheese, and tender pasta right there in your kitchen. I'm here to guide you through every step of the journey. From gathering the freshest ingredients to layering up those perfect lasagna sheets, we'll be covering it all. We'll even sprinkle in a dash of Italian humor to keep things spicy. So grab your apron and wooden spoon. It's time to cook up some magic. Stay tuned and follow along as we dive into the art of lasagna making. First things first, gather all your ingredients. To create this mouth-watering lasagna, we'll need a few key components. Let's start with the pasta. You can't have lasagna without the lasagna noodles. Fresh or dried, both work just fine. If you're feeling adventurous, you could even make your own. Next, the meat. Traditional lasagna is made with ground beef, but feel free to substitute with turkey or even a plant-based meat alternative if you prefer. For our sauce, we'll need canned tomatoes, tomato paste, onions, garlic, and a blend of Italian herbs. Moving on to the cheese. What's lasagna without a generous helping of cheese, right? We'll need mozzarella for that gooey, melty goodness and ricotta cheese for its creamy texture, and of course, a sprinkle of Parmesan to top it all off. For those who can't have dairy, there are plenty of vegan cheese options available that can still give you the creamy, cheesy experience you're after. We're not forgetting the seasonings. Salt, pepper, and a mix of Italian herbs will do the trick. Fresh basil and oregano are always a good idea, but dried versions work just as well. Lastly, we'll need some olive oil for sautéing and an egg to bind our cheese mixture together. If you're vegan, you can use a flax egg instead. Now that we've got everything ready, it's time to get cooking. The heart of any lasagna is its meat sauce. Now let's dive into the process of preparing this crucial component. Our first step is to heat up a generous glug of olive oil in a large pan over a medium flame. As the oil starts to shimmer, we introduce finely chopped onions and minced garlic into the pan. Let these ingredients sizzle until the onions become translucent and the garlic infuses its aromatic charm into the mix. Next, we usher in the star of the show, our ground meat. You could use beef, pork, or a mix of both, depending on your preference. Break the meat apart with your spoon and let it brown, stirring occasionally to ensure even cooking. Remember, we're not just browning the meat, we're also building layers of flavor here. As the meat turns a lovely shade of golden brown, it's time to season. Sprinkle in some salt, black pepper, and let's not forget the quintessential Italian herbs, oregano and basil. Stir well, letting the spices meld with the meat. If you're feeling adventurous, a pinch of red pepper flakes can add a hint of heat to your sauce. Now, let's add in our tomatoes. You can use canned crushed tomatoes for convenience, or fresh ripe ones if you have the time to peel and chop. Stir the tomatoes in and let the mixture simmer. The tomatoes will break down, melding with the meat and spices to create a sauce that's bursting with flavor. While the sauce is simmering, it's the perfect time to add a splash of red wine. This is an optional step, but it adds a depth of flavor that's hard to replicate. Let the wine cook off, leaving behind a rich, robust taste that perfectly complements the meat. Finally, we let the sauce simmer on a low flame for about an hour, stirring occasionally to prevent it from sticking to the pan. This is where the magic happens. The flavors meld together, the sauce thickens, and the meat becomes incredibly tender. And voila, you've got yourself a rich and hearty meat sauce. Next up, we're making the cheese mixture that gives lasagna its creamy goodness. Now, who doesn't love the rich, velvety texture of a well-made cheese mixture? It's the heart and soul of any lasagna, and today, we're going to make it just right. First, we're going to need some ricotta cheese. A whole tub of it, in fact. Now, ricotta cheese is a wonderful thing. It's light, it's creamy, and it lends a delicate, milky flavor that's just perfect for our lasagna. Next, we're going to need a couple of eggs. These little guys are going to help bind everything together, so when you cut into your lasagna, it holds its shape instead of collapsing into a delicious but messy pile on your plate. Now here's the fun part. We're going to add in some Parmesan and mozzarella cheese. These two are like the dynamic duo of the cheese world. The Parmesan brings a sharp, salty kick, while the mozzarella brings that ooey-gooey stretchiness we all love. Now it's time to season. A good pinch of salt, some freshly cracked black pepper, and a handful of chopped fresh parsley. The parsley adds a touch of freshness that cuts through the richness of the cheese. It's a small detail, but trust me, it makes a world of difference. Now let's mix it all together. And here's a tip, don't overdo it. Just gently fold everything together until it's well combined. You want to keep as much air in the mixture as possible, which will give your lasagna that light, fluffy texture. Once everything's mixed, give it a quick taste. Remember, this is your lasagna, so adjust the seasoning to your liking. Need a little more salt? Go ahead and add it. Want a bit more pepper? Be my guest. And there you have it. A cheese mixture that's ready to be layered into your lasagna. Smooth, creamy, and oh so delicious. It's the kind of stuff that makes you want to dive right in with a spoon, but resist the temptation. Remember, we're making lasagna here, not a cheese soup. There you have it, a cheese mixture that's smooth as silk. Now let's get to layering. Now comes the fun part, assembling the lasagna. Picture this, a beautiful tower of flavors, each layer contributing its own unique touch, culminating in a beautiful symphony of taste. That's what we're aiming for with our lasagna. Let's get to it. First things first, we're going to start with a bit of our homemade meat sauce at the bottom of our baking dish. This is going to prevent the pasta from sticking, and it's also going to infuse our first layer of noodles with a ton of flavor. Next, we layer on our boiled lasagna noodles. Make sure they're nicely overlapped. We don't want any gaps now, do we? This is the foundation of our lasagna tower, and we need it to be sturdy. Now, here's where things get cheesy. We're going to take our ricotta mixture and spread it evenly over our noodle layer. This creamy concoction is the heart of our lasagna, providing a rich, creamy contrast to our robust meat sauce. But we're not done with the cheese just yet. We're going to sprinkle a generous layer of mozzarella on top of our ricotta. This is going to give us that beautiful, ooey gooey cheese pull we all know and love. And now, we're back to the meat sauce. Spoon it over the cheese layer, making sure to cover it completely. This is going to seal in our cheese layer and provide a beautiful contrast of flavors. From here, we simply repeat the process. Noodles, ricotta, mozzarella, and meat sauce. Each layer is a new opportunity to build flavor, so don't skimp on any of the components. Finally, we'll top it all off with a final layer of noodles, a bit more meat sauce, and a generous sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. The Parmesan will create a beautiful golden crust that's simply irresistible. And just like that, your lasagna is ready for the oven. It's time to bake your masterpiece. Now that we've assembled our lasagna, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Meanwhile, cover the lasagna with aluminum foil. The foil ensures the moisture stays sealed in, giving us that juicy, succulent bite we're after. Once the oven is ready, slide in your lasagna and let it bake for about 45 minutes. This is the perfect time to clean your workspace and set the table. Perhaps, pour yourself a glass of your favorite wine and let the aroma fill your kitchen. When the timer rings, remove the foil and let it continue to bake for another 15 minutes. This allows the top to get that desirable golden color and the cheese to bubble and blister beautifully. Once done, take it out of the oven and let it rest for about 15 minutes. This step is crucial as it lets the lasagna set and makes it easier to slice. Now, on to serving. Using a sharp knife, cut the lasagna into generous squares. Don't be shy about it, everyone loves a hearty piece of lasagna. Serve it with a side of crusty garlic bread and perhaps a refreshing salad for balance. And there you have it, bon appetit. You've just made a mouth-watering homemade lasagna. And there you have it, folks. We've journeyed through the art of lasagna making, from gathering our ingredients to the final tantalizing bite. Remember, the secret lies in the sauce, the cheese, and the love you pour into it. So don your aprons and let the aroma of homemade lasagna fill your homes. Embrace the process, savor the result, and share the joy of cooking. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more delicious recipes. Happy cooking!